Show. It was the first time that show has ever been hosted in the Harrah's Casino in Kansas City. The show was okay. For a first time show, it was actually really well. The public turnout was pretty decent. Met a lot of new collectors. A lot of people with different interests in the hobby. First time I've ever been at a show where somebody actually walked up to me and said, "I'm looking for this exact item. Do you have it?" And I'm like, "Well, not only do I have it, I have multiple available." So it was pretty cool. Coin wise, lots of great coins there. Got lots of new grades posted while I was there too, from PCGS and PMG. I'm sorry guys if I haven't showed you everything I've been getting back. Super busy trying to get it all snowball. You know, it's like the snowball effect. When you have one thing here, it leads to another, and it just kind of piles up. This is a big submission we got back. I think there's like maybe 150 notes here, 3 boxes. Every box comes with a consign now, Stax Bowers. So how's everybody else been doing? We've had some super bipolar weather here in the state. 66 degrees in the afternoon and 5 inches of snow at night. Here's the first batch. Start off 1899 Black Eagle and VF30. No comments. Just a nice looking original note. Another 1899 Black Eagle and VF30. 233 Black Eagle and 25. Mini porthole, 1899 too. It's called a mini porthole because of the center. VF20. 859A, 1914 and 30. Minor edge split. Down here. It's a very... I probably, if I was a grader, I would have probably called this a 25 and not made a comment. There's not much of a margin at the bottom of this note. It just kind of is what it is. I mean, FR40 and VF25. Ooh, here's a tougher one. FR90 Mule. Elliott White signature. Problem free. Not a public error. FR88 and 25. No comments. I don't know what it is that I have to do with PCGS, but I've probably graded 30 or 40 of these that are super fresh. Like the serial numbers are stuck together. Like you have to peel, like literally peel the notes apart from each other. That's how long they've been together. This one's even commented as made paper wrinkle. I cannot get them to EPQ or PPQ ever. PMG, I've gave them stacks and stacks and stacks of these things. They always come back EPQ. So I don't know why PCGS is so tough on Confederates for PPQ. Part of me thinks that there's not enough research goes into whether or not the note's original. So it's a 3rd issue fractional specimen. Minor adhesive residue. So the story with these specimens, have you ever seen a fractional shield? All these specimens, their lives started out on a fractional shield. So at some point along the line, somebody removed them from the fractional shield. Even though you can't see adhesive residue, they automatically pretty much comment it because there's some form of it in the paper. So it is what it is. It's not sticky. It's very hard, or it has a little bit of an off color look to it. Here's another fractional. This one has printed signatures, but this one is also a specimen. and the same minor adhesive residue. It may not be there to the naked eye, but it's in the paper, so it's just like it's a guaranteed comment usually for anything that's removed from a shield. They did have specimens that were not part of those shields. They actually made these. They had books that they produced that they sold them out of. 1934, 20 in AU55. This is just a note, nothing fancy. 50A and 66 Richmond. There's a couple of these. Ooh, here's one in 7. Wowzers. Good looking note. Centered really well. Another 6. Another 7. The face margins are just absolutely perfect. The backs are just a little bit to the left, so it would never make it a 68. 65 and a 64 and a 5. Let's had a little run of these. Another 6. They look pretty nice. 6s are really well centered on the face too. 65. So I didn't buy a ton of paper at that Kansas City show. There was stuff there to buy. Not necessarily was it all going to be for me and what I do. I did buy a half a pack of 1928 B $5 Minneapolis notes, so that's a pretty good note to pick up. There was only 166. The rest were 3s, 4s, and 5s. That's kind of how those packs come. They just don't come super nice. So minor edge tear. See, that's the other thing. So like down here at the bottom, they have these little nicks. It doesn't really enter the design. It's just kind of how it circulated, and PCGS finds it necessary to comment minor edge tears. It doesn't even affect the note. It's how the note looks. It's how the note just lived its lifetime. I don't know why they find it necessary to make little comments. There's VF20, VF25. It's just silly and redundant to me. I mean, imagine you issued this note in 1861 and it's lived its life out till 2023 before finally somebody discovered it in a box of stuff. And you would think after, what is that, 150 years of handling, that maybe something would happen to it, possibly along the way. Little edge nicks and from improper storage and or circulation. It's life. It's just how it happens. You can't, there's no way to avoid that. It's kind of like paper toning on notes that have been stored in a wooden box or a shoe box or an envelope for the last 100 years. Minor paper toning of the edges, it's going to happen. They're not supposed, the notes are not supposed to endure this long anyways, and they still exist for us to enjoy. So here's a T20 with a stain, pretty blatant stain. To me it doesn't discount it because you can't really see it on the face, just a little bit on the back. Still a great note. Here's another T20 and 30. This one's comment free. T34, it's a little bit better issue. Margin split and tears. Once again, it's a fine 12. It's got some rough edges. It's got a little bit of a tear up here. We're just lucky this note still exists to be in someone's collection. Here's a T8 and VF20 details, and the details are writing in pencil, minor edge tears, edge splits. The pencil's been on this note from its contemporary. It has nothing, Has nothing to do with anything. It's got somebody's initials and some numbers up here. It's absurd that that many comments have to be made on a note that has that much eye appeal. You know, the note looks like a VF30. And there's, as far as edge splits and tears, there's a couple little nicks around the edges, like I said, but it's nothing egregious. It's nothing that wouldn't stop a collector from buying it. Here's another one, VF25 details. Edge split and tears. This one actually has a good sized tear, but it also has writing in ink, and there's no mention of that. So just kind of, you know, they pick and choose what they want to comment and what they don't want to comment. VF20. This is a really good type, T25. So this one's not details, but now look at minor rust, minor splits, and tears. They don't, unfortunately, PCGS they just don't understand. They don't understand what gets details and what doesn't get details. Because here, you have 20 details. You get a big long list of stuff, and nothing on this note is even that egregious. This one I understand, it's got a decent sized tear that goes down into the design somewhere in this region. This one here faces up really nice, and then you look at the back and you have a couple little spots of rust and a couple little edge nicks, but no details. So it's just, you know, it's tough. This one's pretty blatant. If you look at the bottom left, it's got some sort of punch cancel cut out. Choice find 15 details. It's going to say holes, minor rust, minor edge split. Still, just as a tough example, somebody's going to get a cheaper note for their collection. You know, a note like this and problem free, $200 to $300 in the same grade. You know, this note's going to be quite a, you know, considerably less. So T26, one of my favorite notes. VF25, big red X's, minor edge tears, but no comment for contemporary annotations. So like I said, here's the edge tear. It goes about the width of my finger, so it should have been mentioned, but not details grade. T26 and VF25. Problem free. You can even see the watermark through the back of the note, CSA watermark. T26 with a cut cancel, punch hole cancel. And they comment minor mounting remnants, minor pencil. Once again, the pencil's contemporary. It's not like it was done yesterday. It's been on there its whole life, most likely. So T10. These notes all kind of look the same, and that's terrible. It's a very short-lived type. This one says stained, severed, split, reattached, backed, damaged. I mean, and that's the truth. This note is just a type example. Very hard to get a hold of. T28 and 15. There should be a couple of these. A little bit better type for Confederates. T37 and 30. If I remember right, I bought a big deal of these. You have 20. This one's pretty cool. I like them when they have wonky cuts. Somebody was in a hurry and they left part of the note on the bottom. Alright, let's grab the next box. I'm going to slide these on over here. I'm not trying to beat up on them by no means. I just think that from time to time I get these orders from them, and it just seems silly that, so like I have a note that's AU50 details for a minor repair. I mean, it's right on the margin. It's just an itty bitty little thing. Details should be reserved for major problems, major repairs, added corners, heavy rust, heavy staining, things of that nature. That's the way I think. And you know, I showed you right there 3 notes, pretty much the same grade. One had way worse issues and no details, and the one that got the details really wasn't that. I don't, you know, it's not going to keep somebody from buying the note. People buy notes that look nice. That's what I've learned. If the note looks nice, the note's gonna sell. There's some more of these T36s. Like I said, I bought a deal of these. Tried to just pull out ones that faced up nice, that had good solid black inks and or problem free. You can see how much the ink variance is between examples. Some are lighter, some are darker. Part of it also depends on the type, you know, not the type of paper, but whatever the Pierre Fricky number is, the actual variety. Some varieties just come light tinted, some come dark tinted. These are pretty much all PF4 though, so 1950 Kansas City $100 star note, that's pretty neat. PF30. 1950 St. Louis in 5 and a St. Louis in 6. That's pretty neat. T60 and 25, no comments. One of my favorite backs. T68 and 58. Nice bright blue ink on the back. 50D and 64. Looks like a couple of these. These are just a little bit lower end notes. I think I was looking the other day. You can complete a 1950 plain to 1950 E series. However, some of the tougher districts, you can't actually buy them in gem yet. There's a lot of districts, like I think like 1950A Minneapolis 10 and Unk. There's none, you know. You're not going to get a lot of notes to choose from, so you're just going to have to find examples to fill. 1950 CF star note, so Atlanta and 66Q. It's a good looking note, really well centered. If the left margin was not as thick, it probably would have 7'd. Note's really nice. 1950A St. Louis star in 65. T67 and 30. Oh, here's a cool note. St. Louis dark green seal, non-mule, and 66. So it'll be an easy note to sell. Non-mules, tough notes. As a matter of fact, non-mules, look at this. I bought this pack the other day. I don't know if I want to, trying to take a, I have a little thing keeping it together. Show you guys. So this pack actually, somebody had it, and they're, you know, they were just, their grandma or whoever saved it, and it walked into a coin shop down the road from us, and that guy doesn't necessarily do paper money, but he called me right away. He said, hey, would you be interested in this pack? But I got the notes are falling out of it. It's original strap. There's only 20 notes here, but you can see on there that it was 1976 was when it was counted once, and then it was counted again in 1983. But the original pack strap from the bank was in 1940. I don't know if we can get that to show or not. There it is. But these are 1934 non-mule Kansas City. There's just a run of $500 worth here. So back plates on these are 20, I believe they're 209. So it's very early in the run. I was hoping there would have been a 204 back plate in there. That would have been pretty awesome, but T69. This one says minor edge split. Itty bitty little thing up here. Just like I said, it's not even worth mentioning. There's no collector in the world who's going to buy that note as a VF25 and get upset, that there's an itty bitty little nick in the margin. I would hope a note that circulated would have a nick in the margin. Here's a fun note. Stoughton, Virginia, 20. It's graded VF20. They put minor edge splits. The note does have a couple little minor edge splits, but once again, like I said, there's not a collector in the world who would get this note and be upset. They did manage to fold the corner up when they slabbed it, so that's that's pretty terrible. Here's a note that has obvious issues. It obviously has rust on it. So Bank of River Basin in Michigan. Rust and edge damage. See? You can tell up here it's missing a chunk. This is Bank of Yanceyville, North Carolina. It's a little bit better note. It has a little bit of foxing spots on it. They commented small stains. So Bank of Wadesboro, North Carolina. Minor internal tear. It's right here. Here's a Fantasy Confederate. They call this the lady riding a deer note. It was never issued. It's more of a fancier issue. It's got red or green back with X's on it. Pretty nice note for these. A lot of times these are missing corners, big splits. The paper is not the same as Confederate paper, so it doesn't last nearly as well. 1928 $5 star note in VF25. Just a nice honest original. 1950 narrow Kansas City and 53Q. Just a note. 1950 D Philadelphia in 64. A couple of these. Hundreds. People love to buy hundreds. They love to put district sets together. They love to put series and year sets together. Hundreds are really, for what they are, they're very underrated collectible. 1934A North Africa and AU50. Really just a nice collector grade. Good looking color. There's a bunch of these. Macon, Georgia. I can't even pronounce that. Okamogi. Akamogi. A lot of these are going to say small hole, small edge split. These were bundled together and held together with a string. Some of these don't have that, but they have lower serial numbers. So serial 381. This one also says small hole. Yeah, they all have small hole comment. It just is what it is. This one actually doesn't have a small hole comment, and it's pretty nice. These were all 1837, 1838. Again, small hole. Small hole, stains, and missing corner tip. Down here. The stains are actually ink residue from being touching another ink stamp. So I don't know. It's here's serial number 77. That's pretty neat. VF25 small hole. Yeah, all these have under 1,000 serial numbers. This one's VF30, no problems. VF25, no problems. So some of these are going to be fine. It's just, again, small hole. So it says minor stain and small hole. Here's a cool note. T46. It's unfortunate it's got the punch cancel cut out, but AU53, it's got the right grade for a collector. Just, it is what it is. This one has a small stain on a T46 right here. You could only imagine what these notes went through. They were carried in people's pockets. They would ride the trails. They would get wet from rain. They would, I mean, the things these notes went through. It's got a little minor edge damage up here at the top, but again, T46 is a good looking note. Here's another tough note, T9. It's got a little bit of a mark up there. It says minor edge damage and some stains. North Carolina shilling and AU58. I don't grade that note AU because these lines are part of the watermark from the plates, or they're built into the plates. They all have those lines, so I don't know what they're seeing that. Northampton Bank, here's their nice looking remainder. Small edge tear, minor adhesive residue. You can see it up in the corners. Bank of West Florida, very popular note for collectors. This one's in a VF30, problem free. Republic of Texas, $1 issue, big stain right in the middle, missing the bottom left corner. Tough note, nice collector grade, early entry collector grade. That note in VF problem free is $1,000 plus. So Bank of West Florida and VF25, good looking note. Another Bank of West Florida and VF25. We have one more batch to go through and then we'll call it good. A little bit longer video today. I wanted to make sure I got in here and got this done. Here we have Federal Reserve Bank of New York Star Note, VF20. Just a nice circulated example. This note's really, most of the time bulk orders have to be under $300. This note is retail like $300, so should be good to go. Kansas City Mule Star, VF25. 2006 J Star, VF20. Same. Here's a nice 30. 34B Star, tough note. The entire 34B series and on, it just gets tougher. 34C Star. If I remember right, I bought those all from another currency dealer. He had a whole bunch of stars. 1950 B Star, Kansas City. Port Huron, Michigan. John Miller and Company, Bankers. Choice Fine 15. That's a cool note. Here's a late finish plate 86 34A silver certificate. Unfortunately, they got the Friedberg wrong. It should be FR 1702 LFP 86. So hopefully when they have their pop report up, the late finish plates don't fall under the 1702, because there would be no way to track the population at that point. 1950B Cleveland in 64. Here's one in 58 with a little bit of a minor error up here with the suffix ending up in the print design. Here's a Stanton in VF35. Good looking. Got really blue paper on it too. Then just 1953A and 65, 34C and 4. A little bit of a paper scuff on there. Must have been from a paper clip. Just, I miss stuff. Paper clips seem to be the go-to way for people to store notes from the day that the paperclip was invented and then on. The paperclips ruined more notes than any other form of storage. It's a 34C wide and 6. That's a good looking note. Another 34C wide and 6. Narrow, 34C narrow is extremely tough. It's less than like 5% of the printing are narrow face. I've only encountered 3 in my short period of dealing. More 34Cs. $34D wide one. Now they graded this note 63, but the face margins are absolutely, like, I don't grade this note 63. This note is without a doubt marginally, based on margins, at least a 64 plus. I mean, I grade the note a 5 just by looking at it. So, and there's sequential. So the next note in line is a 4 no Q, because it has a little bit of a paper inclusion on the right. Paper inclusions as made. That's how the notes come. So why that note didn't receive an EPQ is, you know. But then the next note in line, look, 67. Wowzers. We'll take that. Note is super nice. Wide one and 66. 2 in a row. 34D narrows. Again, it's a little bit, it's kind of like 34C. It's tougher, but it's more common than one would think. 34D wide 2s are more similar to 34C narrows. So, whoa. You guys just got a sneak peek at the next one. 34D wide 1 and 7. It's a really nice looking note. Yeah, there's been a nice little, couple little nice little groups of silver certificates. They're very popular notes. It's easy to put a block set together right here. First note of a changeover pair, second note of a changeover pair. So you have a wide one to narrow in 65, 66. So that's pretty cool. So there's a changeover pair right there. I'll have to see if I noticed that. I must have known because the serial number range is much different. So we have 1950 plain St. Louis wide one. The wide twos in 1950 are hen's teeth. Wide one, 65. I found quite a few narrows, but not a lot of wide twos. 1950A and 64. 1950A and 64. This is just kind of how these notes come. They always have a long left or a long right. A lot of the higher grade examples out there, some of those have been trimmed off, I can guarantee it. So here's a note that's extremely well centered. They only graded a 64. So something is amiss. I'm just saying. You can't have a note on top that looks like this and a note that looks like that on the bottom. Call one a 64 and the other one a 64. One of these notes should be a 5. Is it worth me fighting for it? What do I know? Here again, here's a 63 that's super well centered. The note should at least be a 5. So these are narrow. Yeah, that's a narrow also. So that note might be worth sending back and getting it checked out. Somebody's sleeping on the job that day. So it has a little bit of handling on it, but handily shouldn't cut the grade down that far. That note, I mean, if I could see that note in a 64 with a little bit of handling, but 63 is just it just doesn't fit. So here's a narrow and 4. Then here's a wide 2 and 4. Much tougher note. Here's a wide 2 and gem. So this is gem margins, and I showed you guys some of the notes prior to that that were much nicer for centering. Now that doesn't mean that they don't have handling or they don't have a corner tipped or something like that. I just have to look at them a little bit closer. Am I going to send them back? No. I'm just going to sell the notes. So I'm making have a really nicely centered 64 for, you know, cheap. 66 and a wide 2. It's a tough note. So 66 and a wide 2, and I mean that thing has a 7 face, but definitely has a 6 back. See how wide it is back here. More wide 2s. You should sell pretty quick if you're trying to put together a district set of wide, narrow, and wide 2. Right now is the time. I have all the notes. Wide 2. Then you have a lonely 58 EPQ on a wide 2. Couple of them. Bank of Canada 2. This is pick 40, 1935. It's a pretty decent note. Then you have the Dominion of Canada 1, fine 12. Looks a lot nicer than fine 12. Yeah, pick 21D and AU 50. Got a good looking note. The grade's not too shabby either. Costa Rica. So remainder in 64. And and Bank of Shanghai, a couple pairs of 58s. If I remember, these were kind of handily, and I don't know what a lot of foreign looks like, so I had to take my best shot. If I had to guess, there's probably a paperclip mark right down here that's keeping it from being unk, so it just is what it is. So alright guys, that's it for today. Shoot me some messages, ask some questions, liven it up a little bit. Summer's coming. We're in spring right now. Summer's coming. We're gonna not be traveling nearly as much. We're gonna be getting a lot of stuff back from grading. You're gonna see a lot of stuff go up on eBay, a lot of stuff go up on our website, a lot of stuff going to shows with us. If you see something you like, shout out. If you want scans, high resolution scans of a note so you can look at it, I can provide those for you. Anything else that's going on, just, you know, if there's something big in the paper world that I missed, or you have something to share, share away. I get asked a gazillion questions a day about different notes and what they should look like and types, and we have a couple of really big error note submissions coming back, so you'll see notes in there that are $35 to $400, $500 in the error note selection. Most everything in the error notes is minor, but there's some absolute major. When I say minor, I mean like gutter folds and butterfly folds and things of that nature. So, but there's some mismatched serials and there's some big cutting errors and things of that. So a little bit more major stuff. So with that being said, hope y'all are doing great, and I hope to see you later.